Yes, guys, right, today, the scales, the weighing scales, the day maker or day breaker. Most people have the scales as their only tool to kind of measure their progress. But I'm going to tell you today why they're so inaccurate, why you shouldn't let it ruin your day, because there's so many variables that it doesn't take into account. And you're just being put on a downer. So one day you may step on the scales and it's the number you want to see and you're buzzing yourself for the day. And then one day you'll step on those scales and it's not the number you want to see, and it just puts a dampener on it. Anything you're trying to achieve, straight away it puts doubt in your mind. So I'm going to tell you exactly why today not to trust them and the reasons behind it. Right, the scales. So when you stand on the scales, it measures your whole body weight, absolutely everything. So you start a diet or a program, and a lot of people weigh themselves every day, which just you shouldn't really do, because depending on your food intake, if you eat a bit more one day and eat a bit less next day, those 2 days are going to be different weights on those scales. Little things like the kind of floor you have it on. If you're weighing yourself on a particular floor and then you move it somewhere else, it'll show you a different weight. Same as if you're standing on your scales and you're used to your scales, and then you go to somebody's house, stand on their scales, and it reads something totally different. You just don't know where you stand, literally. So when it comes to the scales, I mean, I know it's hard for people to not jump on them and judge how their progress by looking at them, but if you're going to do it once a week, pick a day, and make sure you do it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach before any fluid or food, and that'll give you a more accurate result to where you're actually at. And the reason I say no food or no fluid is because when you stand on your scales, if you consume some food, that food actually weighs something and will weigh something in your body until it's digested. The same with water. A neat little trick is, if you've got a set of digital scales, put them on the floor, stand on them, have a pint of water ready in front of you, then look at the number on the scales, keep standing on the scales, drink that pint of water, and then put it back down. You look back down to that number, and that number will be different. Until the body digests your food and puts to use any fluid that you take in, those numbers, you know, that counts to what you're currently weighing. That's why I say weigh on an empty stomach without any food in your body, and you get a bit more of an accurate result to where you're actually at. That being said, a couple of things that the scales can't measure. It can't measure if you're losing body fat and adding muscle to your frame. So if you've lost a pound of body fat and you've added a pound of muscle, on the scales that'll read as zero, nothing changed. But in your body, something has changed. You've added lean tissue, you've lost a pound of fat, but that won't show on the scales. Also on the scales, it doesn't show you your fitness levels going through the roof. So you're feeling fitter and fitter every day. You're doing your HIIT workouts and you're not having 45 seconds rest. Now you're having 30 seconds rest. You're fitter. That doesn't show on the scales. How you feel about yourself. If you're feeling absolutely epic and you're smashing your workouts and you're eating tasty food, and then you stand on the scales and you read something you don't want to read, straight away you've been nailing it for weeks and weeks and weeks. Your body's changed, but you stand on the scales and you see a number that you don't want to see. It will put you on a downer, so stay away from them. It doesn't measure health, doesn't measure body composition, doesn't measure your fitness levels. Stay away from the scales as best as possible, guys. Go off visuals and measurements. If you're going to start a program, take measurements of your whole body, take pictures front on and side on, and they will give you a far more accurate result. So every 2-3 weeks, I do it every 4 weeks, take a picture and then compare it to when you start. And I guarantee you'll be seeing changes. If you're sticking to your program and giving absolutely everything in the gym and with your food, you'll be changing. Hope that makes sense, guys. Have a great day. Take care.